Imagine finding out overnight that your daughter may have never been yours. And worse, this revelation comes from the woman you shared your life with for more than 20 years. That's exactly what happened to me. My name is Daniel, and this story could have destroyed me, but it ended up rebuilding me in a way I could never have predicted. In the midst of a lie, a hospital, and a handwritten letter, I found the most powerful truth a father can carry in his heart. If you value real, deep stories with lessons that touch the soul, subscribe to this channel. You're in the right place. I remember it like it was yesterday. The smell of coffee, the soft light coming through the kitchen window, and the sound of the paper being placed on the table. It was Vanessa. With cold eyes, she simply said, "Daniel, we need to talk." Up until that moment, my life was simple. Not perfect, none are, but it had a direction. I had a family. I had Emily. And even with ups and downs, I believed in what we built. But that day, in a few minutes, everything I thought was solid turned to dust. With a sharp voice, she uttered a phrase that echoes in my chest to this day. "Emily, maybe she's not your daughter." I laughed. Seriously. A nervous, automatic laugh, like someone who refuses an absurd sentence. But there was no humor in her eyes, only silence and guilt. At that moment, something broke inside me. It wasn't just about doubt. It was about years of trust, sleepless nights taking care of baby Emily, every birthday, every "Daddy, help me." Vanessa had taken all of that away with one sentence, and I stood there, paralyzed. Vanessa has always been charming, one of those women who comes in and dominates the room with a smile and a sweet tone. When we met, I fell in love with her firm manner, the way she seemed to know what she wanted from life. But there was a shadow there that I chose to ignore. In the first years of our marriage, we were happy. Or at least it seemed like it. She said she wanted a family, stability, a quiet life, and I offered everything I could: love, hard work, presence. But little by little, something in her changed. The absences came, the cold excuses, the cell phone always turned upside down. I asked, she ignored them. Until one day she disappeared for 3 days and came back with an empty explanation. And I, blinded by love, accepted it. But the truth is that I was loving a version of myself that only existed in my head. Vanessa was good at hiding, at manipulating, at making it seem like the problem was always with me. And that, little by little, destroyed me inside. I didn't want to accept that she was capable of lying about something as serious as the paternity of our daughter. But that sentence she threw on the table, it was just the beginning of what was to come. After that day, everything went silent between us. Vanessa started acting as if nothing had happened, as if that emotional bomb could be forgotten at the bottom of a drawer. But I couldn't sleep. Every look Emily gave me, every gesture, every "I love you, Dad," came with an invisible sting. What if it's not true? I hated thinking that. It was like betraying the love I felt for her. But Vanessa had planted that doubt like poison, and it spread quickly. One day, in a low voice, I asked her, "Vanessa, why did you say that?" She simply answered, "Because I can't stand lying anymore. Emily might not be yours. I was with someone else at the time. And then, it wasn't just the ground that disappeared. It was my sense of identity. I had dedicated my entire life to that girl. She was my world. And now, could all of this have been built on a lie? I tried to talk to Emily, but how could I explain something like that without destroying her? She was young, full of life, full of dreams. And I couldn't even decide if I could still call myself her father. Emily has always been my pride and joy. Ever since she was little, she had a sparkle in her eyes that made me forget about any problem. When she said "Daddy," it was as if the whole world made sense. We had our own codes, our favorite songs, our conversations about the universe and matters of the soul. But after Vanessa's confession, something changed. Not in her, in me. I started observing too much, questioning too much. Does she look like me? Does her laugh look like mine? Or another man's? These were cruel thoughts, but I couldn't stop them. And this doubt pushed me away. I no longer hugged her like I used to. I avoided eye contact, and I began to refuse our silly father-daughter. Rituals, Emily noticed. She felt the weight of that silence and began to shut up too. There was a night when she came to me, her eyes full of pain, and said, "Dad, do you still love me?" I froze. I wanted to say yes, to scream yes, but my throat wouldn't respond. I just nodded and ran away. There I saw. What Vanessa had done wasn't just between the two of us. She had begun to break something sacred between me and my daughter. And the worst part was that I was letting it happen. It was one random afternoon that I found it. An envelope lying among the books on the shelf, with her handwriting. "To the best dad in the world." My heart raced. I didn't have the courage to open it right away. I sat on the couch, the envelope in my hands shaking. It seemed heavy, as if it held more than words. Perhaps the answer I so feared or needed. But just at that moment, my cell phone rang. It was a message from Vanessa, dry and direct. "You need to know. I took the DNA test years ago. Emily is not your daughter." I didn't read the letter. I couldn't. I went to the bathroom, looked at myself in the mirror, and saw a broken man. And that's when I saw the note stuck to the corner of the glass. A simple post-it with Emily's handwriting. "Dad, you are my hero. I love you. I will always love you." My legs felt weak. How could that girl love me so much, while I let doubt swallow me? At that moment, something inside me screamed, "You need to fight for her. Because no blood in the world can erase what you built together." It was dawn when the phone rang. Those calls that we feel in our chest, that bring nothing good. I answered with my voice still hoarse from sleep. On the other end, Nurse Rachel, a family friend. "Daniel, it's Emily. She's taken ill. She's in the ICU. You need to come now." My heart stopped. I didn't ask how or why. I just put on any clothes, got in the car, and went. The road seemed endless, each traffic light an enemy. My head was racing. Will she die without me telling her that I love her? Will my last memory of her be my silence? I arrived at the hospital out of breath. Rachel hugged me tightly and said, "She's sedated. But before she lost consciousness, she left something for you." At that moment, all that mattered was seeing my daughter alive. I would have traded my life for hers without thinking twice. And the most cruel pain was not the fear of death. It was the regret. Rachel then handed me a folded piece of paper, with a tear running down her own face. It was a letter. From Emily. written shortly before she was admitted. And there, the story began to change again. With my hands shaking, I sat in the chair next to her bed. Emily was there, fragile, with tubes, machines, but still, with that same peace she always had on her face when she slept. I opened the letter slowly. The first words hit me like a lightning bolt. Dad, I know you're confused. I know what Mommy said. She knew. All along, Emily knew. And yet, she kept calling me Dad, not out of obligation, but out of love. The letter continued. Mommy told me the truth. I cried a lot. I was angry, ashamed, scared. But then I realized, you never had to be my biological father because you were something bigger. You were my soul father, the only one, the real one. And if one day I'm no longer here, I want you to know, I chose you. You are my hero. And there's no DNA test that can change that. I cried like a child, for the pain, for the beauty of that letter. For every I love you I didn't say in the last few months. For every night I doubted her love, while she never doubted mine. Emily was unconscious for 2 days. I didn't leave the hospital for a minute. I slept on a hard chair, with my head against the wall, praying quietly, asking God to give me a second chance. Rachel was the one who brought me coffee and faith. She sat next to me, listening to me without judging. At one point, she looked into my eyes and said, Daniel, being a father is a daily decision, and you've made this decision 1,000 times. On the 3rd day, Emily opened her eyes, weak, but alive. When she saw me, she smiled, and that was worth more than any lab results. She grabbed my hand tightly and said in a hoarse voice, Dad, did you read the letter? All I could do was say yes and hug her with all the love I had. We cried together. We cried for everything that was said and for everything that was felt in silence. In that hug, I understood. The past didn't matter. What connected us was greater than any blood. There, I didn't just find my daughter again. I found myself again as a man. After I was discharged, Emily came home with me. Her room was the same, with the books, the photos, the notes stuck to the wall. Every detail reminded me of how much I had let the pain blind me, and how much time there was still to heal. Vanessa tried to call me a few times. I didn't answer, not out of anger, but because I understood that some people break us so much that the best forgiveness is distance. I needed to protect what I still had left, my daughter. Emily and I started over. We went to therapy. We walked in the park like the old days. I started writing letters to her again, like I used to when she was a child. And most importantly, I started praying again, asking for guidance, giving thanks. Today, when I look at her, I don't see a doubt. I see a miracle, a bond that defied time, blood, lies. Because in the end, love does not depend on what is written on a piece of paper, but on what was lived in the silence of each gesture. And if you ask me today if Emily is my daughter, I will answer without hesitation. Yes, with all the certainty that exists in the soul of a father who chose to love. Life has strange ways of teaching us. Sometimes it breaks us into pieces, just to show that it is possible to rebuild with more truth, more faith, and more love. I learned, with my daughter, that being a father is not a matter of biology. It is a decision of presence, of surrender, of choosing to love, even when everything around you tries to convince you otherwise. Emily saved me twice. The first time, when she was born. The second time, when she reminded me, with a simple letter, of who I really was. What about you? Have you ever experienced something like this? Have you ever felt like you needed to forgive, start over, or choose to love even without guarantees? If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with someone who also needs to remember that true love never lies.